There comes a time in every life when the pressure to conform becomes louder than the calling to stand out. A time when the fire God placed in your spirit begins to flicker, not because it's dying, but because you're trying to cover it. You're trying to blend in with a world you were never meant to fit in with. Let me tell you something bold and clear. You were not born to be average, and your flame wasn't lit to be hidden under someone else's insecurity. There is a fire in you, a divine fire, a consuming, unrelenting, purpose-driven blaze that wasn't meant to be dimmed, tamed, or silenced. But too often we shrink ourselves to make others feel comfortable. We tone down our convictions to avoid conflict. We downplay our dreams so we don't look too ambitious. We let fear, comparison, and culture convince us that small is safe and quiet is wise. But let me remind you, you were never called to be a thermostat that adjusts to the environment. You were called to be a thermostat that changes the temperature in the room. Have you ever wondered why you've never quite fit in? Why you walk into rooms and feel the weight of being different? Why your ideas are always a little louder, your dreams a little bigger, your convictions a little deeper? That's not by accident, that's by design. You were wired to blaze, not to blend. You were shaped by the hand of the Almighty, not to match the pattern of the crowd, but to shatter the mold of mediocrity. You are not a background voice in the choir of life. You are a solo note that cuts through the noise. The fire inside you isn't random. It's not emotional hype. It's not personality. It's not even preference. That fire is purpose in motion. It's heaven's assignment burning in your bones. It's the divine signal that you were placed here to disturb the comfortable, to disrupt the expected, to defy the ordinary. The reason you can't settle is because your destiny won't let you sleep through life. People won't always understand that fire. That's okay. They weren't called to carry it. They'll try to label it as too much, too intense, too passionate. But listen closely. God never asked you to be manageable. He called you to be uncontainable. That discomfort you feel when you pretend to be less than who you are. That's your spirit choking on compromise. That awkward silence after you speak truth in a room full of lies. That's your anointing confronting atmospheres. That tension between fitting in and standing out. That's your calling demanding you choose courage over comfort. Don't water down your flame to match someone else's insecurity. You weren't built to be digestible to everyone. Some people were never meant to get you, and that's okay. You weren't placed on this earth to be understood. You were placed here to be undeniable. And when you walk in boldness, when you own your difference, when you stop explaining your fire and start walking in it, everything changes. The world doesn't need another copy. The world is starving for authenticity, for voices that don't echo culture but challenge it, for leaders who don't just blend into the system but break the system, for men and women who are not afraid to be too loud, too on fire, too purpose-driven, too committed, too kingdom-minded. This world needs your full flame, not your filtered version. When you were in the womb, God didn't just knit you together, He fueled you with fire, a unique fire. A fierce fire, one that wouldn't extinguish under pressure, one that would stay lit in storms, one that would offend passivity and shake up normality. And every time you try to dim it, life feels heavier. Every time you silence it, your soul aches a little more. Every time you try to blend in, you betray the fire that was entrusted to you. You were not made to walk in the shadows of compromise. You were not called to decorate the sidelines of someone else's purpose. You are a trailblazer, a fire starter, a voice that cracks the silence, a presence that changes rooms. Your fire wasn't lit to be tolerated. It was ignited to be seen. It was never meant to be hidden under fear, tucked behind shame, or wrapped in approval seeking. It was meant to roar. That flicker in your chest, that's not frustration. It's fire waiting for permission. That restlessness you feel in environments that expect you to shrink. That's destiny reminding you that you were born for more. That stirring that won't let you be silent when injustice shows up, when apathy reigns, when mediocrity is celebrated. That's the blaze in you begging to breathe. There's a dangerous lie that too many people believe. And it's this: that shrinking is holy, that playing small is godly, that being quiet, reserved, and invisible is somehow a spiritual virtue. But let me confront that lie with truth. God never asked you to hide what he handcrafted. Playing small is not humility. It's not wisdom. It's not righteousness. It's disobedience wrapped in false modesty. When the Creator placed power, vision, and boldness inside you, he didn't do it by accident. He didn't overfill you. He didn't miscalculate. He knew exactly what he was doing. He gave you that strength. But too many are trying to act humble while quietly burying the very gifts they've been assigned to multiply. False humility says, "Don't speak too much." Obedience says, "Speak what God gave you." False humility says, "Don't shine too bright." Obedience says, "Let your light so shine before men." False humility says, "Stay in the background." Obedience says, "You are a city set on a hill." It's time to realize that toning down your calling to blend in is not noble. It's rebellion. The moment you silence your purpose to be accepted, you stop walking in divine alignment. There are lives tied to your boldness. There are breakthroughs attached to your yes. And when you play small, those lives remain in delay. Because your voice is a key. Your anointing is a torch. Your presence is permission for others to rise. When you shrink, the atmosphere stays dark. When you step back, the enemy takes ground. When you hesitate, purpose sits in waiting. Don't confuse meekness with invisibility. Don't mistake surrender for silence. Real humility is saying, "God, I'll carry everything you gave me, and I won't apologize for it." It's not about arrogance, it's about obedience. Because refusing to walk in your full calling is just as dangerous as pride. It's pride in reverse. It's saying, "God, I don't believe I'm capable of what you placed in me. I don't think I'm enough. I don't think you made the right choice." That's not humility. That's fear pretending to be wisdom. Too many people are waiting for permission to be great, waiting for validation to speak, waiting for applause to rise. But heaven already gave you the green light. You've been anointed. You've been appointed. You've been approved by God himself. Stop asking people for permission to do what heaven already released you to do. Stop making your greatness digestible for those who aren't hungry for truth. Think about it. What has playing small ever produced? Frustration, bitterness, resentment, emptiness. You were not built to hide in corners. You were not born to decorate the background. Every time you say yes to smallness, you say no to destiny. Every time you pretend to be less, you delay what God is trying to release through you. Your story, your testimony, your gift, your message, they are too powerful to stay muted. You don't glorify God by erasing yourself. You glorify him by becoming everything he called you to be. You glorify him by showing the world what divine design looks like. Your rise isn't pride, it's purpose. Your boldness isn't arrogance, it's alignment. Your fire isn't a threat, it's a signal that God is on the move in you. The world doesn't need more people playing it safe. It needs more people walking in holy confidence. It needs believers who understand that playing small doesn't make you righteous. It makes you rebellious. It doesn't protect your soul. It starves it. Because deep inside you know you were made for more. There's a reason people feel uncomfortable when you walk into the room. There's a reason your name stirs conversations. Your presence draws attention, and your voice shifts the atmosphere. It's not because you're being dramatic. It's not because you're too much. It's because you carry fire in a world that's settled for lukewarm. And fire will always irritate those who've grown cozy in compromise. Lukewarm doesn't get disturbed until the heat rises. As long as you stay silent, shrink back, and keep your light dim, the world is at ease. But the moment you decide to burn, really burn for truth, for righteousness, for purpose, something begins to shake. That fire in you becomes a confrontation to everything that's become passive, average, and spiritually asleep. Your fire becomes the thermostat, and mediocrity starts to sweat. You've got to understand, the fire God placed inside you isn't just to keep you warm. It's to ignite change. It challenges what's dead. It provokes what's dry. It awakens what's been numb. And when fire shows up, everything has to decide, will it catch or will it run? That's why lukewarm people don't know how to handle you. You remind them of what they stopped chasing. You expose the comfort zones they've decorated. Your flame pulls the cover off complacency. Lukewarm doesn't like fire because fire requires something. It demands a response. Fire won't let you just exist. It calls you higher. It confronts apathy. It stirs conviction. That's why you might feel resistance from the people you thought would support you. That's why some circles feel tighter the brighter you burn. Because fire always makes people choose. And if they're not ready to rise, they'll ask you to shrink. But here's what you can't afford to do. You can't let their comfort smother your calling. You can't dim your blaze to soothe their insecurities. You can't tone down heaven's flame to keep peace with earth's passivity. Your fire isn't a problem, it's proof that you're alive. It's proof that something in you is still hungry for more. While others settle for lukewarm, you're still pressing for the upper room. While others flirt with the edge of obedience, you're running headfirst into the flame. The enemy doesn't waste energy attacking what's neutral. He's not bothered by lukewarm spirits, but when he sees a fire carrier, when he sees someone who refuses to be ordinary, who won't be silenced, who won't settle, he panics. Because one flame can become a wildfire. One ignited heart can set a generation ablaze. That's why hell fights you. That's why resistance rises the moment you start moving in obedience. Because your fire exposes the places where darkness used to hide. There's power in your fire. Power that shakes up dead religion. Power that makes demons uncomfortable. Power that wakes up sleepers and challenges spectators. Don't you dare apologize for it. Don't water it down. Don't put a filter on it so it feels safer in spaces that weren't built for truth. You weren't made to be accepted by lukewarm systems. You were made to flip tables and set cold rooms ablaze. And yes, it will cost you. It might cost you comfort, popularity, invitations, applause. But it's worth it. Because what's lukewarm can't be trusted. What's lukewarm can't carry glory. What's lukewarm can't birth revival. God spits out the lukewarm, but he ignites the willing. The ones who say, I'd rather be on fire and rejected than lukewarm and liked. The ones who understand that favor from man is fleeting, but fire from heaven transforms everything. You weren't called to fit into cold places, you were sent to melt them. You weren't called to echo empty sounds. You were sent to roar with truth. You weren't called to walk in circles. You were chosen to burn trails. When you live on fire, you threaten every lukewarm comfort zone that dares to stay the same. Comfort zones are where dreams go to die. They're the invisible cages that look like safety, but smell like stagnation. They wrap themselves in routine, in familiarity, in false peace. But behind the curtain, they are graveyards of potential, burial grounds of assignments that never saw the light of day. You don't grow in comfort. You don't stretch in comfort. You don't evolve, rise, or break chains inside the walls of what feels easy. Everything great lies just beyond what feels safe. God didn't call you to comfort. He called you to obedience. He called you to movement, to steps that require trust, to paths that don't always make sense to people. If your life is still digestible to everyone around you, you haven't stepped out yet. Because the moment you start walking in real purpose, comfort zones start shaking. Familiar spaces start resisting. People who once applauded you suddenly get quiet because your obedience convicts their convenience. There's a voice in your head whispering, stay where it's safe. Stay where you're accepted. Don't rock the boat. But that voice is a liar, because while it promises peace, it delivers paralysis. Comfort will keep you applauded but unfulfilled. It will keep you surrounded but spiritually empty. It will decorate your cage, dress it up in compliments, and call it a blessing. But deep down, you'll know you were meant for more than this. Every calling has a cost. Every purpose comes with pressure. If it's easy, it's not destiny. It's delay in disguise. Growth always demands that something dies. Your pride, your plan, your need for control, and sometimes even your circle. Destiny doesn't ask you to stay where it's easy. It dares you to walk into the unknown. It challenges your fear. It tests your faith. It exposes your trust, not just in God's power, but in His timing, in His direction, in His covering, when things don't make sense. Comfort zones will lie to you. They'll tell you, don't speak up. But your calling says, declare truth even when your voice shakes. Comfort says, don't risk the rejection. But calling says, if they leave, let them go. Your purpose is too big to be tied to small approval. Comfort zones ask for silence. Calling demands sound. Comfort zones ask you to shrink. Calling commands you to rise. There are generations locked behind your obedience. Lives you haven't even met yet that are waiting on your yes. And every time you choose comfort over calling, they stay in delay. You think you're just choosing peace, but you're postponing impact. You think you're just avoiding resistance, but you're avoiding revival. Because every time you obey, something shifts. Chains break. Cycles stop. You aren't just stepping out for yourself, you're stepping out for everyone connected to your assignment. If you keep waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect support, you'll be sitting in the same place a year from now, full of fire but stuck in fear. You'll keep trading your birthright for comfort. You'll keep settling for less because more required motion. But your calling doesn't live in convenience. It lives in courage. The courage to say, I don't know how this ends, but I know I can't stay here. The courage to walk away from places that no longer fit who you're becoming. The courage to say, comfort didn't create me, calling did. God never used someone who stayed where it was safe. He uses those who are willing to step out of the boat while the storm is still raging. He partners with those who are willing to lose some friends, confuse some people, and disappoint some expectations, because the fire in their belly is louder than the fear in their mind. They understand that comfort zones are the enemy of greatness, that what looks like safety today becomes a prison tomorrow, that what keeps you comfortable will eventually keep you confined. You were never created to walk into rooms and leave them the same. You were never called to simply exist in spaces. You were called to transform them. You are not just a person occupying time and space. You are a living, breathing shift in the spirit. Wherever you step, something should move. Something should tremble. Something should wake up. Because when you walk in, heaven walks in with you. You're not a thermometer reacting to whatever's happening around you. You are a thermostat. You set the tone, shift the temperature, and shift the atmosphere. When confusion is thick, your presence brings clarity. When fear has taken over, your faith starts shaking things loose. When darkness hovers, your light pushes it back. That's not hype, that's your identity. That's the power of God inside you, refusing to let the world define the conditions. People may not see it, but the realm of the Spirit recognizes it. You are a disruptor of the ordinary, a breaker of cycles, an igniter of purpose. You weren't made to mimic what's happening. You were born to shift it. And yes, that makes people uncomfortable. It might make you a target. But don't you dare tone it down just to be accepted in places that were never built to host what you carry. Too many believers walk into rooms looking for a vibe to match, looking for the mood, looking for what's already happening so they can blend, but that's not your role. You were anointed to change atmospheres, not mirror them. If the room is heavy, you speak life. If the atmosphere is dry, you carry rain. If the space is tense, you walk in with peace. That's why you don't fit in with the flow. You were designed to be the interruption. There's a shift in the room. When someone knows who they are in Christ, the environment starts to respond to authority. Spirits react. Darkness gets nervous. Even people who don't know God sense something different when you walk in. You don't have to announce it, you carry it. You don't have to force it. Your presence provokes it. That's why you can't walk around casual with your calling. You can't treat your presence like it's optional. When you show up, the atmosphere shifts. Not because of you, but because of what's living inside you. The enemy is hoping you never figure this out. He's banking on your silence. He's banking on your insecurity. He wants you to think you're just one person, just one voice, just one light in a dark place. But hell is terrified of one fully surrendered believer who knows they carry the authority to shift the unseen. Hell doesn't fear numbers, it fears identity. And once you recognize that you're not there to take sides, but to take over, everything begins to change. That boardroom? Shift it. That classroom? Shift it. That family gathering soaked in tension and bitterness? Shift it. That platform, pulpit, stage, sidewalk, whatever space you've been given, shift it with the fire and authority you carry. Your influence is not about titles. Your power is not in performance. Your assignment isn't to impress, it's to impact. You're not walking into spaces to go with the flow. You're walking in to break the dam and release something fresh, something heaven-breathed, something weighty. When others bring noise, you bring a sound that echoes through the spirit realm. You don't need permission to be who God called you to be. You don't need applause to operate in the anointing. You don't need perfect conditions to bring change. You just need to know who you are, what you carry, and why you were sent. Because once you understand that your very presence is a divine disruption, you'll stop waiting to be welcomed and start walking in with authority. You may not realize it, but your fire is contagious. Every time you step into your calling with boldness, something shifts, not just in you, but in everyone watching. There are people silently observing your steps, listening to your words, and measuring their courage by the size of your flame. You are not just burning for yourself, you are burning for the ones who haven't caught fire yet. When you burn, others start to believe it's possible for them too. Your obedience becomes their permission. Your yes becomes their open door. You light up the path for those who didn't even know there was a way. Your fire says to the weary, get up. Your fire says to the doubtful, it's real. Your fire says to the fearful, you can move forward too. You're not just a spark, you are a catalyst. And that's why your flame matters more than you know. It's easy to think your passion is just for your journey. Easy to assume your breakthrough is just for your peace. But heaven doesn't give you fire for personal decoration. It gives you fire for generational transformation. There are chains breaking in other people because you refuse to shrink. There are dreams waking up in others because you chose to burn in public. Your flame stirs dry bones. Your fire disturbs comfort zones. Your passion revives the places others gave up on. This is why the enemy fights your fire so fiercely, because it multiplies. Fire spreads. It doesn't just warm, it ignites. One match can spark a wildfire, and all it takes is one sold-out, unapologetically anointed, on-fire believer to flip a city, a family, a generation upside down. The devil isn't just after your voice, he's after your influence. He's after the people who would have caught fire if you had kept burning. He's after the generations that would have been set free if you had stayed lit. So many people are waiting for someone to go first, waiting for someone to be real, to be bold, to be different, to be holy without apology, to carry weight and not drop it. You are the example someone else needs. You are the spark someone else is praying for. When you burn, you give people courage to step into their own fire. When you burn, excuses die and faith is born. When you burn, atmospheres shift and destinies awaken. That's why you can't afford to be lukewarm. You can't afford to be passive with your purpose. You can't keep treating your flame like a side hobby or a weekend passion. The fire in you is the answer to someone else's spiritual drought. Your worship is calling others deeper. Your faith is waking up slumbering warriors. Your persistence is breaking off delay. And your fire, it's not just noise, it's revival in motion. You may not hear the applause. You may not get the credit, but someone